Let's talk a little Oregon Ducks recruiting. We thought we saw the craziest Oregon recruiting development already happen when Dallas Wilson signed and then 10 days later asked out of his letter of intent. But then there was the situation with Jaron Sagapolutele, and he was the number 50 overall recruit. He was a quarterback, committed to Cal for a while, had a really quiet commitment to Cal for a while, as I said, but then the rumors started swirling. Maybe he's going to flip to Oregon. Georgia got involved a little bit, but really it was just Oregon. Flipped his commitment from Cal to Oregon on the early signing day, December 4th. After signing, he enrolled, he practiced. After practicing, he even watched Oregon in the playoffs. Then he asked for his walking papers. One of the strangest situations I've seen in a while. We're going to break it all down. We're also going to talk about who is going to be an instant impact player for the Ducks in 2025 out of this recruiting class. We're going to talk with Justin Hopkins of Scoop Duck. But first, Oregon fans, do me a favor. Smash that subscribe button for me real quick. All right, let's bring in Justin Hopkins from Scoop Duck. Justin, is this situation on its face as crazy as I just described, or am I missing something here?
Well, it's one of those things you think back maybe 2, 3, 4 years, and this story would have been absolutely wild now. But in today's transfer portal days, is it really all that wild? So, it's still a pretty interesting story on the surface. Obviously, really even more so because he showed up and practiced with the team, was doing Rose Bowl practices with the team. And then dipped. So, pretty crazy story. I don't think there's a lot to it. There's no ill will. I just think maybe the expectation playing earlier than, the play earlier than they wanted to probably wasn't there at Oregon. Obviously, they've got Dante Moore. They've got Novosad. They've got Luke Moga. Achilles Smith also came in and enrolled. So you've got healthy competition at Oregon, and I think he came in and saw that and decided maybe it wasn't for him. So, you go to a school like Cal where you potentially could end up now, and there's a pretty clear path to being the starter there. So if that's what matters most to Jaron, then I don't think anybody wishes him badly. Like, that seems to be a better fit. Go do your thing, man.
So is that what happened? Jaron came in, he took a look under the hood and just thought like, hey, they're too good. Like, I might not see the field early. But did he not understand that when he was taking visits and mulling it all over right before early signing day?
Yeah, it was an interesting recruitment, to say the least, because in those days leading up to when he flipped to Oregon, Cal and Oregon had limited to no contact with him. He basically went radio silent on both schools while both were like maybe assuming the other was getting him. And so, it was just kind of an interesting recruiting all the way. So maybe, that particular factor wasn't weighed in enough. I don't know. I don't know how you missed knowing that Dante Moore was on the roster at Oregon. Of course, Dante Moore was a starter at UCLA, transferred in. He's believed to be the heir apparent now with Dylan Gabriel done at Oregon. So, I don't know if they just missed that fact alone or what the case was, but it certainly seems to be one of the bigger points is that he came in and practiced for that week and kind of went, oh, these guys are pretty good. They might, I might have to sit behind them. And that seems to be the bulk of the story. And it's funny because leading up to, this happening in that week of practices, we heard several of the Oregon players talking with media about Dante Moore and he throws the ball and how much he's developed this year. So that seems to be the biggest part of the story. But, again, nobody at Oregon poorly. Good luck to you, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Oregon fans, let us know, what was your favorite moment in the Sagapolutele era? Put it in the comments section below. But seriously, Justin, a lot of talent is graduating. A lot of talent is coming in. Who are some of the names, not just on offense, not just at wide receiver or running back, but who are some of the names that you think are going to make an early impact at Oregon from the signing class?
Yeah, I feel like if I don't lead this off with DeCorian and Moore, that the list is invalid. So, after, what we saw from his season and then obviously highlighting at the All-Star game, he's in Eugene now, has arrived following that All-American performance there. And so, you got to start the list with DeCorian and Moore. Somebody's got to go and catch some of those balls that Tez Johnson's leaving behind. There remains to be some, whether Evan Stewart will return to Oregon or not. Somebody's going to have to pick up some balls there. I think DeCorian Moore is the guy, but you're going to have to go look at the defensive back group that Oregon signed, and they signed those guys for a reason. You talk about Dorian Brew and Naeem Offord, and man, Oregon's going to need all those guys to come in and play right away. They're basically graduating all of the back end of their defense. So, of course, the Ducks have gone into the transfer portal a little bit as well to supplement. But I think you're looking at those young guns coming in and playing a lot of snaps in the secondary. Outside of that, Oregon has become somewhat similar to Georgia and to what we've known Alabama to be, which is not that many freshmen come in and make a big impact, right? Those guys come in and they develop for a year, and then in 2 or 3 years, they're, household names across the country. And that's what national championships look like. And I won't say that Oregon's there yet because that wouldn't be fair, obviously getting bounced by Ohio State here in the Rose Bowl. But they have built a roster in that fashion where, this year we saw very few true freshmen really make much of an impact. And even though Oregon signed a highly ranked class, I think once again, you'll say, hey, these guys will come in and provide depth and learn this first year and be ready to go in 2 or 3 years. But I do highlight DeCorian Moore in the back end of that secondary because those guys are all going to play.
Yeah, and after what DeCorian Moore did at the Under Armour game, he shows whether it's going to be kickoff return, punt return, wide receiver, DeCorian Moore somehow, some way is going to make an impact as soon as he steps on campus at Oregon. So Duck fans, talk to Justin and I. Who's your favorite player in this 2025 cycle? Let us know who you think is going to make an instant impact in Eugene.